Okay, we're good to go. Turn my microphone on, that might help too. All right, well, good evening and welcome everyone to the Maple Ridge City Council meeting of April the 9th. I'll now call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. I would like to start us off in a good way by acknowledging that the city of Maple Ridge does our work on the unceded and traditional territories of the Katzie First Nation and the Kwantlen First Nation. Madam Clerk, can you just provide us with an overview of tonight's proceedings?
Thank you. Good evening. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available to the public for playback on our website in accordance with Council Policy 3.12. The purpose of a council meeting is to enact powers given to council using bylaws or resolutions and is the venue for debate of issues before voting on a bylaw or resolution. This meeting is being conducted through the city's One Meeting platform. For voting purposes, council has been provided with voting cards, green for in favor, red for opposed, yellow for point of order. For members of the public who would like to speak, there will be an opportunity to do so later in the meeting during the public question period. That concludes our opening statement.
Great, thank you very much. And just to let you know, I will be chairing the meeting tonight as Mayor Rumi is out of town at a conference. He is joining us, but I will be chairing tonight. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Councillor Doze, seconded by Councillor Schiller. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Great, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of March 26th? Moved by Councillor Youssef, seconded by Councillor Doze. Any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. We have no presentations or delegations tonight. So moving on to, we've got the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councillor Youssef, seconded by Councillor Schiller. Any sort of comments on this? Seeing none, are those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Moving on to 9.1. This would be the 24212 1112 Avenue. I'm not sure, do we have someone presenting on this at all?
Nope, we do not have any presentations this evening, but staff are available for questions if needed.
Great, thank you. Can I get a motion? Just want to see the recommendations up there. Yep. Just don't have it on there. There we go. Can I get someone to move the recommendation? It's been moved by Councillor Youssef, seconded by Councillor Doze. Any comments, questions on this? This is final reading. Okay, seeing none. Are those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to 9.2. And if you just get the recommendation up there, and this is for second reading at 12050 York Street. And this was at council, the committee workshop, or committee of the whole last week. Okay, can someone want to move that recommendation? It's been moved by Councillor Schiller, seconded by Councillor Youssef. Any comments or questions on this one? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving on to 9.3, the financial plan bylaw. Do we have a presentation on this one, or we just, nope. Okay, so no presentation on this one, just for the community that's joining us. Back in March, there was quite a substantial discussion around the financial bylaws. And so if you wanted to go back and time to sort of see the back and forth on that, there was also some consultation that went out to the community. And so does someone want to move the recommendation that the Maple Ridge 2024-2028 financial plan bylaw number 7989-2024 be given first, second, and third reading? So moved by Councillor Doze, seconded by Councillor Youssef. Any comments, questions? Okay, Councillor Youssef and then Councillor Schiller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you to staff, with the public engagement that's been done, can I please have staff refresh my memory as to the numbers that came in as a result of that public engagement?
Thank you. So there were, through the chair, there were 2 rounds of public engagement. The first one was a little more robust with respect to the action. So I'm just going to have to pop back to the previous agenda on the first round of engagement, but the second round is attached to the package. I believe it was, let me just scroll through here. Thank you. 173 responses.
Mm-hmm. And of the 103 responses, through you, Madam Chair, how many were in favor and how many were opposed to the proposed bylaw?
Through your worship, to Councillor Youssef. So there were 2 rounds of engagement. The first round had close to 470 responses. The second one had, the first round focused on priorities. The second one focused on the proposed budget. There were 173 responses in total. Of that amount, 75 were not in support. There were 17 in support, but there were 69 that were just general comments that were not one or the other. They were just general comments.
Thank you for that. And I understand that people usually will comment or oppose things that they're passionate about. I believe, as we were told during the previous presentation on this bylaw, that it was affordability that was mentioned as the main reason for the 7-to-1 ratio when it comes to opposition throughout the community. And if I'm not mistaken, also, Mr. Rue had given us the 3%, as was mentioned by some of the residents that did respond, as an acceptable tax rate. So if I may, Madam Chair, through you, ask staff, if we were to, and forgive me if I'm going backwards in time here, if we were to only do the fire department RCMP piece, where would that put our tax rate increase?
Mr. Thompson? I know we hashed this out a lot during those debates back last month.
Certainly. So percentage wise, the short answer is it's 5.7% is just the base plus fire and police over a number of years.
Thank you for that, Mr. Thompson. As much as I know of the work that's gone into this and how staff have done a wonderful job to bring forward a budget that is efficient, I'll put it that way. Seeing those results of the engagement, I can't in good conscience support this level of increase when people are really struggling with all kinds of expenses, from groceries to fuel to interest rates. And I find myself in a seat where I'm here to represent the people, unfortunately, and I'm sorry to all in the room, not the organization. So as to live true to my role as the representative of those people, I will not be supporting this moving forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schiller.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, business planning and the approval of the financial plan, it's probably some of the toughest decisions I feel that we face each year. And it is not easy to make a decision that's going to impact the financial situation of other people. Well, I won't say unfortunately, the reality is those of us in these seats have to balance being cognizant of those cost pressures, but also making sure that our residents have the services that they need. To me, this budget is very much an investment in our core services, which is our fire and our RCMP. I think there's a lot of support throughout the community for making sure that those our first responders are able to be there when we call them for help. A lot of work has gone on this year in terms of planning, right? Assessing where we are, planning for the future, for the growth that we know we'll see over the next few years, and really identifying where we need to get to, how we're going to get there, and why we need to do that. So for the fire specifically, information that was presented to us was that since 2012, the number of service calls has increased by 50%. The community has also obviously grown very much since that time, but we have not added a single frontline first responder. As someone sitting in this seat, when I hear that, I literally hear alarm bells. I think we need to be investing in these services, and I think we need to be investing in them in a regular incremental way so that we have the services that we need. If you've ever been that person who has called 911, you know that every second is hours, and you expect and need a really quick response, and that comes with a price tag. But for me, I know the work that's gone on this year to look at costs, to look at other sources of revenue, to do what we can to create an environment where we can diversify our economy, diversify our tax base. But at the end of the day, in this moment here, we have to work with what we have and do our best to balance the needs of our residents in a few different ways. So I am supportive of this budget, and thank you all for your time.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Tan?
Thank you, Chair. And through you, I really appreciate my colleagues sharing their opinions on this. And for me, whenever I go to the grocery store and I put gas in my car these days, I just get a little bit of a sticker shock every time I look at my bill, even though I think I'm prepared for it, I'm still not quite there yet. And so, I really appreciate the concerns, that we heard from residents around tax increases and affordability. And I think it's something that hits us all pretty hard these days. And so when I think a lot about what Councillor Schiller said, and I appreciate that. I think the framing for me on this issue is balancing the cost to our community and also investing in our collective future. I think about the fire services, as Councillor Schiller talked about, and I think about really what's most important to people. And what we have heard is tackling the affordability crisis and public safety. And I think it's very important for us in these seats to look at this and say, hey, what is a responsible decision to make? And the reality of the world is that inflation and the cost of police and fire has put us at a place where just tackling those basic things puts us at a 5.7% increase. And I think it's very important for us being in these roles to be both fiscally responsible and also be very honest and transparent with our constituents and residents about where we're at. So I think that the value proposition that residents get is that that we're investing in a safer community, in a community that has the roots and foundation to have more economic development. There's something we heard very strongly from residents time and time again in our community surveys, in the response to the budget, that they want more economic development, that we want more services in the city, and we want the city to be one that people feel like is livable. So I think that, as we all sort of work towards around the council table to this common goal of, a prosperous, inclusive, sustainable community, I think this is a choice I'm very comfortable making, and I'm happy and proud to support this budget. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other? Okay, I just want to share a few comments on this budget. First of all, I want to thank staff for putting this together. It is no easy feat to find a path forward for budget every year. It's always a challenge, and there's so many different moving pieces to our organization, and it's a massive city. We're a city of almost 100,000 people, and there's a lot of moving pieces in that city. So I want to just say a huge thank you to staff. Sorry. My microphone is on. Oh, pull it closer. Okay. Every microphone's different, I find, in this place. And I also want to thank the colleagues around the table, because we spent days on this. We got here today not because we just showed up today, because we spent a lot of time collectively talking about it, thinking about it, asking questions. And when it came down to those last, bit about funding a tax rate that would match the service levels that we wanted within the city. I think that was probably a 3-hour debate, just going back and forth and finding out where we could land. And we spent a lot of time finding and putting things and patching things around to find a service level that is, Councillor Tan said, it was investing in our community and supporting. And also, what we're hearing from the community, in particular around safety pieces and for the RCMP and the fire that hadn't had increases in a very, very long time. And in the first round of consultation, that was a big part that we heard was safety. 6.5 is definitely on the lower end for most of Metro Vancouver. I do appreciate that everything is getting more expensive and it is harder, and I get that. And the city is also feeling those pressures as well. I mean, even just to maintain status quo, I think was 4.95% just to maintain where we were. So to be able to increase and invest in our community and keep it at 6.5, I think was all, kudos to the work that staff did, and also to the, colleagues around the table for your very, very thoughtful debate during the deliberations of that. I will be supporting this budget. I do think it's, as some of the councillors before me said, it kind of does strike the right balance of investing in our community, but also respecting the tax rate and trying to keep it down as low as possible. Just open it up for any further questions before we call for the vote. Questions or comments? Councillor Dose.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I won't take won't take long to actually put forward my own position on this. As far as I know, what matters in a budget situation like this is one's ability to make responsible decisions and being able to know that what we're doing today is just a way of putting Maple Ridge out of the vicious cycle that it has found itself over the years, where the kind of growth we need by way of infrastructural facilities is not commensurate to the growth of the population of the city. So it then becomes necessary that someone at one point in time will have to make a brave decision. And I can tell you that today, this time is the time for us to make that decision if we must not mortgage the future of our people. To me, everything about this budget is about being honest and straightforward to the people. This afternoon, I spent $60 to fill my tank, my little tank that I used to fill with under $30. Is it painful? It is. But I want to sum it up by saying that you cannot eat an omelette without breaking an egg. For this reason, I'm supporting the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Rumi.
Thank you very much to my colleagues for all their comments. And just one quick comment. Yes, I will be supporting this budget. But just a reminder that when we first started this process, we were actually over 8%. And after going back and forth and sharpening the pencils and much debate, we were able to get it down to 6.5. This is far from an all bells.
Nope, we still got you.
Oh, sorry. I thought I disappeared there. Yeah. This is far from an all bells included budget, but it does strike the right balance. We do need police and fire, but also with the anticipated growth coming into the city, we have to make sure that our administration is fully prepared to be able to deal with the incoming flux of housing and so on and so forth. So I think it's very important that we acknowledge that. And for all those reasons, I'll be supporting the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll open it up for second round of comments and questions. Okay, not seeing any comments and questions. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that does carry. Councillor Youssef was opposed. Moving on to 9.4. Just wait for the slide to move over. Okay, so the recommendations, the Maple Ridge property tax rate bylaw number 79902024 be given first, second, and third reading. been moved by Counselor Schiller, seconded by Counselor Youssef. Any discussion or questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, so it does carry. Counselor Youssef was opposed. Moving on to 9.5. Okay, so 9.5, that Maple Ridge Sewer Rate Amending Bylaw number 7988-2024 be given first, second, and third reading. So I want to move that recommendation. So moved by Counselor Jose, seconded by Counselor Youssef. Any questions, comments? Counselor Youssef.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to staff. Of the 8.5% that we're talking about for the parcel charge, how much is that is going towards the maintenance of existing infrastructure? How much of that would be going towards new infrastructure? And my last question is, what other funding streams are available to us? Can we rely on Metro Vancouver, for example, for some of this funding?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Through the chair, I don't have exact breakdowns of those elements with respect to how much is being spent on maintenance versus replacement versus new, but we do have new infrastructure funded through development cost charges for the utilities as well. The Metro bill is about 2/3 of the cost of the utility. So this is the amount that we put into Metro Vancouver to cover basically dealing with wastewater, both capital and their operating costs.
So if I'm understanding that correctly through you, Madam Chair, 2/3 of the 8.5 is actually us collecting on behalf of Metro Vancouver?
Thank you. So the rate that Metro Vancouver's costs are going up is more than 8.5%. It's closer to 10%. Our costs aren't going up as fast. So the 2/3 that I was speaking to is actually of the total expenditures of the utility. So by far, Metro Vancouver is the driving force behind the rate increase, to put it another way.
Thank you for that. And again, to clarify, forgive me, through you, Madam Chair, the 8.5 is going toward the maintenance of existing infrastructure.
Correct, as well as paying for Metro, which includes additional infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, Madam Chair. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so no committee reports, recommendations, staff reports, on to public question period. So if anybody would like to ask a question. So, oh yes, sorry, you have a little bit that you read out to lay down sort of the rules of question period.
Thank you. Participants in public question period are reminded that there should be no discussion of public hearing bylaws which have not yet reached conclusion. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to speak to council. A second opportunity may be provided once all speakers in the queue have had an opportunity to speak. The total time allotted for public question period is 15 minutes. If you wish to inquire about additional opportunities to address council, please contact the corporate officer. For members of the public in attendance in council chambers wanting to participate in public question period, please come forward to the microphone. State your name and city of residence for the record before beginning and addressing your comments to the chair. For members of the public participating electronically, please register as a speaker by raising your hand, turning on your camera, and clearly stating your name and city of residence for the record before you begin. Thank you.
Thank you. I just did a quick peek. I didn't see anybody online. If you want to just double check that I did scan that properly. Is there anybody in chambers? Yeah, so if you just want to step up and you'll just need to say your name and your address. City of residence.
I live in this beautiful town that is being destroyed by.
I'm just sorry, can you just say your name and your
My name
city
is
of-
June. My name is June Palmer.
June Homer,
I
thank
live
you.
down where you're doing all the sewer upgrades, ripping apart my street. My building has shook for 2 months straight. I've dealt with that. What I can't deal with, and this is to you, Dan.
So
Why?
we just need to address the questions to the chair.
Okay, but
Thank
Dan,
you.
I'd like you to be aware of what I'm going to say to you right now. We have had enough of the drug addicts in this town. They are terrorizing us. They are vandalizing. The seniors can't go out at night. And I'm not making this up because I'm out there every day walking. We just had that incident at that Tim Hortons. It is a disgrace. We are now viral. Something has to be done, and it's not housing. So I would like to know what you propose to do to deal with these drug addicts that are taking over our town.
Thank you for your comments. I think all of us are looking at how we can find solutions because we all recognize that there is work to be done in our community. And, we did hear during the surveys too that public safety was a top concern. And I think there's a variety of things that are being done in the community. I mean, on the particular incident, as soon as the city was aware of it, work was done right away to work with the business, also work with our economic development as well as our RCMP team. And again, there's a communication ongoing with the businesses through the BIA as well as through our economic development around who to call and who's there to help. We do have the CSOs in place. As you can see from the budget, we are looking at increasing RCMP budget, which will help. The just finished Project Sentinel, which was in our community. And before that, we had a Project Dovetail, which was really concentrated on the downtown core and working with the community, with our unhoused and street entrenched folks, as well as businesses in the community to find support and solution for some of the things that we're dealing with as an urban city. And there was a lot of benefit and a lot of positive that came out of those. And we continue and we will always continue to look at ways to support the community as a whole. And the other piece that we're doing, the mental health and health pieces fall to different levels of government. And we continue to advocate to senior levels of government to support substance use abuse support and as well as mental health pieces. And so we will always continue to do that in our role as advocates for the community. So I do want to assure you that we hear you. We hear you. And, all of us are committed to looking to ways to find solutions. So thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Close question period. Okay, and then we'll move on to Mayor and Council verbal reports. Who's got a report for me today? Councillor Youssef?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quick. Of course, many of us had the absolute privilege and pleasure of attending the RCMP's 150th anniversary and celebration and awards night. It was a true testament to the heroism that we see here in our community by those members and how they put their lives on the line every hour that they're out there for the sake of the greater good. That was very heartwarming and wonderful to have that privilege. Yesterday, myself and you and Councillor Schiller attended the Buy Local workshop, and kudos to our economic development staff for bringing this forward and showing and demonstrating in numbers how buying local not only has a financial positive impact, but also a social positive impact. So again, kudos to staff for putting that together and bringing this forward. And I hope to see more local businesses participating in the next iteration of it. Lastly, Madam Chair, today we attended the BC Ambulance Rescue Recognition. And it just speaks to how wonderful our community is and why I've personally always said this is the best place on earth. And it's because of its people, people that are willing to go above and beyond and take that step to ensure that another person in medical distress is well taken care of and is there with us today, standing, saying jokes, just full of life. It's truly amazing and heartwarming to see that. And it's testimony again to how wonderful a community we have here in Maple Ridge. Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, and lastly, tomorrow is, of course, Eid al-Fitr. Today is the last day of Ramadan, so I don't have to starve anymore. And so many other Muslims all around the world will be celebrating. It's been a great month, I have to say. This Ramadan has been one of the best that I've had throughout my life. And I started fasting at around the age of 10. And it's been very easy on the go. I haven't slowed down one bit. And it's wonderful to see the community as a whole coming together and really celebrating various celebrations, not only for the Muslim faith, but for other faiths and for Nowruz, for example, and all other festivities. Let's keep that going and let's celebrate one another and our community as a whole and our diversity. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. And happy eating tomorrow. Happy eating. Happy eating. Any other reports from councillors? Seeing that, I just have a couple of things to add. Most of them, Councillor Youssef, many of us were at them, the 150th anniversary of the RCMP, and it was really heartwarming to hear about the good work and lives saved by our RCMP team. And what also I really appreciated is there was a lot of senior leadership around, and we heard really positive comments about the work that's being done by the RCMP in Maple Ridge. And that was really, I guess, heartwarming just to hear that the work that that the RCMP are doing is being recognized in a larger capacity. But it was really wonderful to sit down and celebrate with everybody. I love all the red surge. It's always a beautiful space. And congratulations to all those that won the awards. I just want to echo Councillor Youssef on the Maple Ridge hosting the Buy Local workshop. The graphics and the data that they shared. And if you go to BC, is it Buy BC? I'll have to look up the website. Sorry, I had it written down and then I forgot it. They have all sorts of graphics and information. If you ever want to see, if you shift and you move to a buy local or a small business, shifting your spending habits, how much more that puts into the community, whether it's supporting local jobs, supporting charities. The one thing is local businesses are much more likely to support local charities, and many of those charities are youth component charities. And the other thing is that I loved is it said local business recirculates $63 of every $100 back into the local economy as compared to $14 by multinationals. So we have some pretty spectacular local businesses in our community. Many of them were at the event last night, and I encourage you to go out, shop around, listen to them, hear their stories, and check out the goods because they're pretty amazing. And just on the BC Ambulance that we attended today, I just want to recognize the 4 city members that were recognized today: Colleen Franklin, Greg Park, Colm O'Connell, and Danielle Swanson saved the life of a patron who had gone into cardiac arrest in our community. And what was beautiful is the man was there today to celebrate and thank them for the work that they did. And we were there to say thank you. They play an important role in our community, and it was really wonderful to see that work being recognized. Just quickly, one last roundup. We had Metro Vancouver planning last week, and there was a couple of reports on there that might be of interest to folks. One is called Where Matters 2 report. It's the draft report that's just been released. Now, I'll warn you, it's a 500-page report. So give yourself, a few days to work through it. But it was a fascinating report, and it may be of interest to many of us and the things that we're talking about, the benefits of a walkable community, and the health benefits, the climate benefits to that. And it goes into a lot of the health outcomes and the positive health outcomes that come when people are walking. There's also a report on childcare spaces in Metro Vancouver. And what has been a lot of conversation around our table around the tree canopy and the urban forest, there was a report on the Metro aspect of that and a lot of discussion around that and the challenges we have to continue to increase it. But I will say, when you look at the data, Maple Ridge was one of the few cities that actually increased their tree canopy coverage over the last few years. So that was really heartwarming to see as well. That brings us to the end. Unless one last call, anybody have a report? All right, seeing no more reports, we've come to the end of our business. I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.